Thank you for the nice introduction and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Florian already told you it's about IT trends, my keynote, and you're perhaps wondering, IT trends, is it really a topic for a keynote? Well, we will see. The point more or less is we are daily confronted with IT trends every day, and the main problem, at least also in my daily job in an IT company with 10,000 people, is to assess IT trends. And my problem is it's not easy, you will see. So I hope I get the possibility to make a wake-up call for you this morning to hopefully get a little bit more in a way that you much more think heretical about IT trends in general. So first, just to synchronize us, okay, what is a trend? Very easy. Sure, it's a topic many people or an organization follow. Whatever it is, it can be something we will see like agility. Okay, so agility, sure. What is the point? Well, IT trends we all should observe because they show direction, they stimulate us, they trigger us, and sometimes they bore us, or whatever it do, but we should observe IT trends. Sometimes IT trends can become a little bit nasty when out of the IT trend actually a hype occurs. Things like currently ChatGPT. You are completely puzzled about things because everyone talks about it. All magazines are full of articles for ChatGPT or something like this. What's the point here? Well, it's a trend, yeah, but it's a trend which is actually boosting. So it has skyrocketing expectations. If you think about Gartner hype cycle or something like this, this is actually where the tipping point is reached with ChatGPT. Everybody talks about ChatGPT, even those people who actually don't know anything about machine learning, neural networks, or anything else. But it's cool to talk about those things. This actually means it becomes even more complicated to actually evaluate those trends or hypes. Because of all this fog and all these people talking about things, you get completely crazy about this stuff. So it's even more harder to decide, okay, is it something I also should follow? Myself, with my company, whatever, and with my project? Or is it something where I should say, okay, fine that you are talking about it, that's not for me. Some people sometimes even think, okay, where do trends and hypes actually came from? Are they created? Well, in my humble opinion, they can be created. Take it not too seriously, but from my perspective, you need 6 particular ingredients or characteristics of a topic to make it a trend or even make it a hype. It's very simple. First is you need a catchy name. You cannot take a topic which is Munich cyber tactics, techniques, and procedures because you already lost as a second word. No, it has to be a single word. MCTTP. Was it fast enough? MCTTP. Okay, so it has to be catchy. Hopefully the conference gets catchy over the years and people can pronounce MCTTP. So catchy. The next thing is it is not sufficient. It has to be also, it needs a foggy concept. It's important. There has to be fog on the ground. For things like blockchain, as an example, it's a catchy name. And what is the fog? Well, this is even for I'm a computer scientist, and even a chaining of hashes. Okay, hashing. Okay, it's clear, sure, something like MD5 or something like this, or a checksum, and a chain. Okay, but what, a chaining of hashes? Well, if you don't know blockchain, it's about that each block is gets an hash, and the hash is inside as one content in the next, and this one, you chain it. The next is you need a surprising property. Well, this is this practical immutability. As long as the blockchain gets, the older blocks even harder and harder can be changed. It's an interesting immutability property. And you need definitely a painkiller. So for blockchain, this is about decentralization, yeah, and especially a convincing use case coming out of this practical painkiller, and this is this bankless payment. What you see, sure, blockchain is just a technology, but Bitcoin in the cryptocurrency field. And finally, it's also important that you need some magic aspect. And even for a computer scientist like me, if you hear about smart contracts, okay, I don't know what is to be smart and what is a contract. What is a smart contract? Well, it's more or less a piece of program written in a particular programming language, very specialized for blockchain, which can be also stored in the blockchain, and it gets executed, has perhaps its own bitcoins or Ether or something like this. So this is really a magical aspect, especially for computer scientists who know best that you cannot write any program bug-free So really, they store, by definition, non-bug-free program in a blockchain, and it is permanently stored and never changed. Oh, hell, what horrible aspect. But okay, a little bit of magic here. On the other hand, so for blockchain, it works. It doesn't work for other things. Take Metaverse. Well, it's a great PR stunt from Facebook to rename to Meta. But the point is, the catchy name you have, Metaverse, you have even this Web3 technologies. Web3, well, it's a mixture of everything and nothing. Blockchain, virtual reality, and other things. Okay, so perhaps it is foggy enough. You have even a nice property. And this property in Metaverse is that you more or less blend the real world with the virtual world, so you can get your sneakers in the real world and also are allowed to wear them in the virtual world. But Metaverse is doomed to fail as a trend and especially as a hype. Why? Well, it has no practical painkiller. What can you do in the Metaverse what you cannot do in the real world if this blending exists? It has no convincing use case. It has not even a magical aspect because everything else from virtual reality and all this stuff you already know. It's just a mixture of these things. So this doesn't work. Okay, doesn't work. So in order to better now understand different trends and how complicated it is to get them assessed, I brought with me 6 particular trends. So from agility over artificial intelligence, low code, open source, the micro things, and sustainability. So from technology trends, over methodology trends, up to conceptual trends. And together with you, I would like to take the opportunity in this keynote to go through these 6 trends. And well, why do you accept to have a single keynote speaker? I'm surprised. You actually get 3. You still cannot see them, but they are here. Here on this side, I have a keynote guest, which will immediately spawn just when I actually go this way. I will disappear magically in this keynote, and a consultant will come on here. And on the other hand, if I go on the other side, in this direction, a technician will spawn. And you will see, throughout those 6 IT trends, they have completely different opinions. And my hope is that this way, you better get illustrated that it is hard to assess even common things like open source or other things, because it is completely different from the point of view you can actually look at the stuff. Okay, so we have our consultant here, which gets spawning on this stage apart, and our technician on the other side. And well, this way, now take our 6 topics once again and listen please to the dialogue between those 2 on the trend topic in the hope that you get a wake-up call, observe the differences in the view, and let's start with agility. Well, something well established. The consultant, please start. Oh, well, as a consultant, I can tell you, as an experienced consultant especially, agility is really everywhere. It's a modern approach. It is state-of-the-art, definitely. Please start with the mindset. Already start at the top level at your managers. You need an agile leadership spirit, and go down even to your operation teams. And in these operation teams, apply methodologies like Scrum and other things, because this actually ensures that you get success in your software engineering projects, because Scrum is the ultimate software engineering methodology. But be careful. Experience has shown that you really have to adhere very strictly to those practices, because else you're doomed to fail. But if you adhere to those methodology practices, you will be successful. Okay, thank you very much. Well, you have heard, it's not the usual stuff you hear all the time about agility. Okay, now let's ask the technician. Really? What? Scrum software engineering. Have you once looked at the Scrum guide and not wondered what not a single word actually talks about software engineering? Well, you can even build a house with Scrum. So you're telling me it's the ultimate methodology for software engineering? Really? And then all those ceremonies you consultants tell me with Scrum, we should do daily stand-ups and retrospectives and all this stuff, and that makes us successful, really? No, it doesn't make us successful. That's not about software engineering. The only thing which actually is caused by this is happiness. Happiness by the team, because you delegate responsibilities, you make all those ceremonies. They like this stuff to work in this environment. So yes, it's fine to do agility, but not to be successful in software engineering. to make people happy. Even what is team about in Germany? Team, T-E-A-M, in German, that's toll, ein anderer macht's. Nice, so someone else does the job. And this is actually what happens. If you delegate something like architecture to a team, nothing comes out. Architecture is a one-man show. You cannot delegate it to an agile team, even in the spirit of agility days. No, this doesn't work. If you want to be successful, dear consultants, you really have to do something different. You need what? Craftsmanship. People have to be good craftsmen. They have to know their tools, the template. They need experience. That is what actually creates a success. Or the other way around, if you have great craftsmen, the process and the methodology is secondary. Do it if you want for happiness, but it's not important. You will be successful. Or the other way around, even the greatest process on the world will not lead to success if the people are no craftsmen. So if you ask me, the 5% truth is not about these ceremonies in Agile, daily stand-ups, retrospectives. No, the 5% truth is driving on site because you don't know anything up front and regularly deliver results to the customer. That's it. Whew. Thank you very much. I hope you already got the impression. Even things like agility after 20 years, where everybody says, okay, sure, it has to be done. It can be seen completely different. Well, so what is the first lessons learned here? Craftsmanship is really key. Processes and their ceremonies are just secondary. Don't listen too much to the consultants. That's their business. That's how money is made in the business field. Because you need those things, but it actually doesn't ensure your success. Okay, so just take the next topic, completely different, artificial intelligence. The consultant, please. Oh, well, we are definitely in an AI era currently. You see it every day with ChatGPT. It's really great. Stunning use cases exist from doing chatbots, great dialogues, eloquent things here. You can do even coding with GitHub Copilot. You can object detection in images, image generation and other things. It's really interesting. Everything's possible. We are in an era where the machines have a real understanding what actually happens. They are nearly in front of a real consciousness. And I can tell you, we are definitely very near in front of the so-called AGIs, the artificial general intelligences. So please, as a consultant, I can tell you, start to adopt AI, because with GPT, GitHub Copilot, or even Midjourney, you will be successful. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let's see what the technician tells us about artificial intelligence. Oh, really? Yeah, it's the hottest shit on earth. Once again, every 5 years, artificial intelligence is a trend. And this already since 40 years. So what? Yeah, sure, it's great. We have once again, in a very narrow field, and this is natural language processing with ChatGPT, new things. Yeah, definitely. But it doesn't mean we are in front of an era of artificial general intelligences and consciousness or anything like this. No, just try it out. Yeah, you can do your chat stuff. But on the other hand, really, who wants to chat? If I go to a website and I don't find anything, I want a menu with clear elements and perhaps a search field, but I'm not a novelist. I don't want to enter a lot of text and chat with a machine. Even if this machine eloquently produces answers, that's not the way I want to work. Yeah? And even when it comes to aspects like sarcasm or irony, it doesn't work. Anyway, then what is it about? When people all the time ask ChatGPT about knowledge, and then in magazine articles, you see that they tell you, the machine hallucinates. It is not really correct. Well, sure, it isn't correct. It's a language model. It was trained by a lot of material on the earth and, well, more or less the whole internet. So this way, as a side effect, it has knowledge. But that's not what this is actually about. ChatGPT is not about answering your knowledge questions. It's a language model. It is able to what? Complete words in an eloquent way. So if you want to do, for instance, a summarization of text, great. If you want to do a sentiment analysis, great. But don't start your ChatGPT sessions and all the time ask knowledge questions. That's not what it is about. Then dear consultant, please, yeah, we should adopt artificial intelligence, but have you tried it? Until recently, you were not able to actually run anything locally because of RAM consumptions, other things. It was really complicated. You have to go into the cloud to really get the stuff running. In the cloud. So all my prompts and other things are going into the US in the cloud. Well, GDPR says welcome to you. And finally, from a philosophical point of view, think about it. The machines got more or less the whole content of the internet and learned how to make the next tokens. Great. Now you produce tokens in your text. And what do you do with those texts? You place it onto the internet. So on the next round, the machine gets learned with the text it produced. So we are actually dumbing down, finally. It becomes more dumb and more dumb and more dumb. Really? Okay, thank you very much. Well, we have seen now already on this second topic, it is complicated. What is the lessons learned here? Well, the same what is regularly and often occurring in IT. People project from a success in a very, very narrow field, here with ChatGPT, this is about the task in natural language processing, onto the general. Yes, we are near in front of consciousness, machines with consciousness and other things. No, that's not the way it works. And we are not in front of artificial general intelligence. So the lessons learned is do not please project from success in a narrow field onto success in general, even if the consultants tell you those things. Well, okay. Take our next one, low code. Now, completely different. The consultant, please. When it comes to low code and especially efficiency in software engineering, it's very important to really understand that modeling is key and it's better than programming because a lot of companies already adopted low code scenarios and they are very, very successful. You need less developers, I can tell you. You will be more productive and perhaps sometimes even the domain experts of your customer can program themselves. Thank you. Let the technician reply onto low code. Yeah, sure, low code. Let me recap. In the 1999, it was named CASE, Computer-Aided Software Engineering. In the 2010, it was named MDD, Model-Driven Development. Okay, now it is low code. Hell, it is always the same. You are dreaming we can paint software. We can just model it. We just have to find a nice abstraction and that's it. And we are immediately better. We don't need programmers. Really. Every 10 years, since 60 years, we are dreaming of this. No, it doesn't work. Because if you have a number of parameters in your problem domain, you can shift those parameters to another abstraction layer, but they are still the same number of parameters. What do you want to do? If you really abstract them away, you had a lot of other problems, like the round-trip complication. You do change a model and do something like generation code, and if it doesn't work underneath, okay, what do we have to change over there? So round trips, debugging, other things, just doesn't work. So yes, there are use cases for low-code approaches. Yeah. If you have an intranet and perhaps a unit of your company wants to do a little bit of a workflow, something coming in and has to be approved or something like this, yeah, great, sure. Adopt low code, create those things. But have you at least once tried to implement a business information system with complex dialogues with a low code platform? You will fail. It doesn't work because you all the time just work against the complexity here. Doesn't work. Okay, thank you very much. Well, we see here, or even here, once again, what is the lessons learned here? Well, yeah, one lesson learned is once again, it is complicated to assess. And in particular, complex aspects cannot be made simpler than they inherently are. Yeah, sure, you can find abstractions, but at the end, you have to be clear about what happens. Either you move all your complexities to the abstraction, or it has to be such abstract that you get problems with the round trip. You cannot think you find the magic thing and this way everything disappears. That's the reason why since decades we are programming, and in my humble opinion, we will still decades program because you cannot change it. You can change the language or something like this, but not the complexity. Okay, take a completely different thing because I think this should be out of a discrepancy between the consultant and the technician. Open source. I'm an open source guy. I do it now for 30 years, as Florian told you. I even established the Apache Software Foundation, wrote a lot of things in the open source field. Just go to github.com/RSE, my signature, and you see tons of hundreds of original repositories there. So I'm convinced of open source. But okay, once again, listen to the consultant first. Oh, open source, since 2 or even 3 decades, is very, very important. In your business, definitely adopt open source and the right mindset, because it's a freely available, downloadable resource. And it is, as the name implies, open source. So even you security guys know best. You can review this stuff before you, something which was not possible in the era of commercial things. Yes, use this. And if you need contributors, that's also the way to go. Because if you open source things, a lot of people will contribute features and other things. It will help you dramatically. So do it. And if you do it right, you can even go to the field or the level of business models. You can do your next Red Hat or MySQL or anything, because open source allows you even to create great business models. Okay, thank you very much. Let's see what the technician tells us about open source. Yes, open source is important, definitely. It eats the world, and it's free to download, sure, and it's even free to use, that's right. All open source licenses allow you to freely download, install, and use it, but it's not such easy in practice to arbitrarily use it. No. For instance, if you create in the industry a piece of software through software engineering, you need a lot of things from the open source field. Actually, 90% nowadays is open source, but it's complicated. You cannot easily embed all things, because there's a lot of license issues which more or less tell you, no, that's not the way it works. So we have to be a little bit careful with this resource here. Even when it comes to those dependencies, I don't know whether you know how many open source things are actually inside a business information system. When I started software engineering in the in the 1990s, it was 2 or 3 or something like this. And even this needed an approval by the board of directors of the company. Do you know how many open source components are actually inside the business information system of the industry? It is 2,500 on average. So does anybody really think you can, even if you have the source, review this stuff? Really? 2,500. I would say even if it's just a tenth, 250, you would not be able to actually review it. 25, yes, perhaps. So yes, you have a large resource, but this, you have the source, just change it, just review it. It's not possible in practice. Yeah, so it's actually a license nightmare and a reviewer nightmare. And when it comes to those contributors, dear consultant, please, really, I do open source since 30 years. I'm convinced of open source, but the contributions of other people are, you get a lot of people who tell you problems in your software. Obviously, a lot of issues are raised on GitHub. Yeah, sure, that's great. But where in 30 years was a substantial contribution where someone said, okay, I will actually implement in a clean way a feature? I've not seen it. And I've done really tons of open source, ranging from Apache, FreeBSD stuff, things for the GNU project and others. It's more or less always the original authors. It doesn't mean open source doesn't work. I'm convinced of open source, but it's a myth that actually you get a lot of contributors. You don't. And finally, please, these business model stuff. You cannot even start a second Red Hat. They had a first mover advantage. You cannot start a second Red Hat this way. It doesn't work. Yeah, so a lot of business models are hogwash of consultants. Okay, thank you very much. What do we see here? Well, the lessons learned is open source definitely has eaten the world. Sure, but open source business models, community contributions, and this, just review the source before use are myth. That's not true. And you can believe me, I do it since 30 years. That's not true. This doesn't mean that I'm still not convinced of open source, but not of those aspects at least. Okay. It becomes complicated, you see. The trends, even things where we are fully agreed since decades, have completely different views. Yeah? So, okay, take another one. a conceptual one. Perhaps this way it becomes easier. The conceptual one of micro. The small things, this strong trend towards finer and finer granularity in really everything. The consultant, please, on micro. Oh, well, I can tell you, small is always better in this world because you have less complexity. By splitting down things, you get quick wins easily. So I can tell you as an experienced consultant, please apply small things, this concept. So use small user stories, microservices, small containers, REST endpoints, and even small agile teams, and you will see it will be more successful for you. Thank you very much. Once again, let's see what the technician replies. Yes, sure. That's a nice thing. I can cut down things into smaller things. And yeah, from an obvious point of view, it looks brilliant, right? But on the other hand, at the end, perhaps I do not see the forest because of all the trees, I guess. And it's just not true. Yes, the individual complexity of the small pieces is reduced. But if I have a lot of pieces, I have a lot of interfaces, I have to integrate all this stuff, that the overall complexity, and this is what matters, is higher. So it's nice that we are an area where we always just reduce things, make it smaller and smaller and smaller, and think, oh, this way we can easily handle the world. No, we don't, because the world is full of those things, and in the end we have to cope with the whole world here, not just with a single piece. So it's complicated. You think you mastered it on a small thing, but on the large scale, you fail. Even when it comes to having a big picture and not over-engineering things, it becomes complicated because if you do fine-grained things, you lose easily the big picture, and you easily, because of all those interfaces, you over-engineer things. So it's complicated. You see, once again, a nice trend, usually everyone would agree, but the two viewpoints showed us it isn't such easy. So what is here the lessons learned? Well, micro is contemporary, definitely. It's in the spirit of this age. But macro, the large things, is most of the time what is more efficient. It is actually what every engineer will tell you. That's the way it works. You have to think on a macro level, on the big picture level, and not get lost in the processing of all the small things. Okay. Let's try it with this last one. A completely different one. Once again, a conceptual one. Even, once again, fully in the spirit of this time. And this is sustainability. I guess there cannot be a negative point here. But okay, first look on the positive side. The consultant, please. The last time. Oh, sustainability. That's really, 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 really important because that's essential. It's environment protection. It's about ecology. And that's actually, if you want to be successful as a company, you have to become a leader. You have to stop wasting the resources, stop the climate change, because that should be clear also as a private person, but even as a company. Please, it cannot be that you actually argue against sustainability, because that's how we actually protect the future of our children. Okay, thank you very much. I guess this is fully convincing. But I can imagine it can be a little bit different. Okay, let's see once again what the technician replies on sustainability. Well, yeah, right. Sustainability is important, but you actually as a consultant tell us about sustainability as it would be something completely new, yesterday invented. What do you think engineering is about? Engineering, even in the code of conduct of IEEE, has clear statements about sustainability. If you build a bridge as an engineer, since centuries, it has to last for decades. So this is not a new concept. What are you talking about, dear consultants? And when we actually go even to the topic of the particular thing like climate change, sure, climate change is proven. Point. As far as I know, what is not 100% proven is what actually is the origin of it and whether all our actions are they effective as a contribution to stop it? And finally, when it comes to sustainability, sure, everybody agrees and says, yes, I'm sustainable. I do everything to be sustainable. On the other hand, once your vacation comes, you enter into the plane, go to the other side of the world, and you come back and say, once again, sustainability is important. Really? If you really think about sustainability and seriously, I guess you have to do a complete picture of this stuff. Yeah. And finally, when it comes to your consultants, hey, you told me since years to do things like continuous integration and continuous deployment. Yeah, now we have in the industry the situation that an engineer actually just commits a typo in a comment, and a 2-hour build process we are proud of very much of our automation skills runs and wastes just energy for what? That at the end we see a green light once again. So, oh yes, thanks. This typo fix in a comment here is once again green. Thank you very much. Really? And other things. A few years ago, you told me about blockchain. What is blockchain? Blockchain is about wasting energy without end. Yeah, no, there's Ethereum and proof of stake instead of proof of work, but even Bitcoin still does proof of work. So this is just wasting energy. Other things like big data a few years ago, or even these days, large language models we talked before. Why do you think OpenAI is a fully commercial company currently? Because they waste such a lot of resources, they have to actually earn money for this stuff. So a lot of things you told me as a consultant is not more or less hogwash when it comes to sustainability. Okay, thank you very much. We have seen it's dramatically the different point of views. So finally, what is the point here? Well, sustainability, if you take it really seriously, starts with beloved habits and requires questioning also the things we are proud of. If we are proud of automation, yeah, sure, be proud of automation, but stop to do continuous integration in the industry because it's just basic. Well, to sum it up, I hope you have seen with those 6 trends, it isn't such easy. Trends are very, very hard to assess seriously. The crux is in the detail. I hope you observed what the technician replied. It was more or less all the time convincing what the consultants told us. But at the end, we have seen there can be completely different views. So please, that's my call to action for you on this year, on this conference. Don't think trends are great by default or positive or something like this. No, they aren't. Just because thousands of people are running into one direction is not the right way to think, yeah, then I also should run. Please start to be much more heretical about IT trends. And I assure you, your personal sovereignty in the IT will skyrocket. So, finally, we got the alarm. And this way, thanks for listening. Enjoy your stay at this conference. Have a nice day. Goodbye.